So do we want to let's get into Pep. So you have Pep. By the way, did you know that Diaz? I did the math personally, so I don't know if this is a real fact because sometimes I can't add, or maybe you might miss a transfer here or there. But going by Wikipedia, season by season, adding up the transfer outs, the Diaz signing from Benfica, I believe, has taken Pep spending since the 2015-16 season when he arrived over 1 billion euros.
1 billion
with a B. It was somewhere around 900 million without Diaz, but now it's like over 1 billion. So if you spend £1 billion in 5 seasons, you got to give me a Champions League, man. At least a final, bro. At least a final. Like,
so he's really spent £1 billion.
According to my math, which, as we know, is questionable. But I just went by Wikipedia, so I just tallied up the numbers. It gets you over €1 billion. Once you convert pounds into euros, it takes the number above $1 billion by 6 million or so. So it's like 1 billion and 6 million euros. I've seen people say, "Oh, it's the board's fault. They haven't backed Pep." That's nonsense. Now, obviously, that doesn't take into account net spend and however much money that they would have recouped from whichever players they sold. But can you really think of like a high value player that they've sold? I can't really think of any. Maybe you might think, oh, Jadon Sancho left the academy, but I'm thinking like they sell Aguero to God knows who. Like they haven't really had some major people leave except like the elderly, Yaya Toure, David Silva, Vincent Kompany, but they all left for free. I can't think of any major player they've sold. So yeah, Pep, he has no excuses at this point. They've given you $1 billion. You can't say you weren't backed. You can't say you don't have defenders. We can go through the list of Stones, Laporte, Diaz now, the fullbacks that he got in his second season. I think he got 4. Mendy.
He's bought players.
Cancelo.
Man. Dude has bought players.
Yeah, it's when you look at the numbers, it's like, well, damn. To be fair, I think Pep's project has maybe run its course. So I think we've concluded on this podcast numerous times that there's only so long a coach can stay before his voice becomes stale.
No. Let me comment on that because that's very key. Let's bring in Fergie. You see, what I always say about Fergie is that 2 Champions Leagues in like over 20 years. That's a bit.
But Mourinho has the same. So let's calm down there.
So Mourinho has spent as much as a. So Mourinho has been a manager for as long as Fergie?
Mourinho's been a manager 20 years this year. So this is his 20th year in management, and he has 2 Champions Leagues.
Fergie, remember,
and Alex Ferguson has a European trophy with, I believe, Aberdeen, which is.
But yeah, because Mourinho won the what's it called? Did he win the?
Mourinho has the Europa League and the Champions League with Porto, and he has a Champions League plus treble with Inter and a Europa League with United.
But look, that's the aim, but still, I still say
no. I'm just saying as a warning, don't go into this 2 Champions Leagues in however many years, because then people will throw back in your face that your GOAT only has 2 and 20 as well. So it's not a slight that you think
he's my GOAT for more than just stuff. It's for different stuff. It's for character, coolness, and all that, and box officeness. But all I say with the whole 2 Champions League things,
that's a blindside hit that people are going to hit you with.
Fine, but the point still stands that I just think if you're calling this guy the greatest manager of all time, he's won 2 Champions League in how many years? And
Champions League isn't the defining trophy in terms of greatness.
But it's the hardest and the most. It's where the best teams play. So you can't ignore that. That's why it's called the Champions League. It's where the best teams play. You're not playing Scunthorpe or Granada or
so would you say that Carlo Ancelotti? Okay, no. Would you say Carlo Ancelotti is a greater manager than Sir Alex? Because he has 3.
I wouldn't say that, but all I'm saying that is just.
So So what's your point?
My point is that I'm just throwing that point out there. Now you can do with that whatever you wish, but that is a fact. It's a point that
have hope. It's a nonsense point. In less time. Stop with that one. It doesn't make sense. Find something else to critique him on. But that one, it doesn't fly.
No. Okay, it makes perfect sense.
Are we saying Zidane's better than Ferguson or greater?
The argument is, I view the Champions League as an elite competition and the tougher competition because the best teams play.
Everybody
and the
does.
fact that there are managers who have won that competition more times in a less time than Ferguson, I think that's an interesting point. You can't ignore.
All right, but to be fair, Ferguson stayed with one team. A lot of these guys have been jumping around from team to team, spending money, choosing the best player. So Ancelotti went from Juventus to Milan to PSG, then to Real Madrid. Fergie did it at the same club, which creates a unique set of issues.
Zidane has been at the same club.
So, okay, no, that's fair. That's fair. But are we saying Zidane's on the managerial level as Ferguson?
The reason why you now put a Fergie over
a game for your life,
his longevity.
That's a bad question. I was going to say, if you had a game for your life, would you take Zidane managing or Fergie managing? But then I think about just the juju that Zidane has.
Come on, man. Zidane is special, man. Zidane is special, man.
And I think, damn, well, I think Ferguson could set the team up better, but Zidane would probably just somehow find a way to win. But the point is, don't use number of Champions Leagues and number of years to delineate greatness, because that's a bad road to go. It's a dead-end argument.
Back to the point I was making. Now, Fergie. The reason why Fergie is so special. Now, let's not talk about the good things with Fergie. He was able to always keep people refreshed and remotivate people. And he was able to break teams, build new teams, break teams. He knew that, all right, Stam, time to go. Cole, York, time to go. Van Nistelrooy, time to go. Van Persie, time to go. Okay, boom. And he was able just to restructure and knew when the team needed a new lift. The problem with Pep, he's a very intensive coach and manager and demands a lot. And he has a very specific philosophy. Ferguson didn't have a philosophy because one time it was two strikers, York and Cole. Then it was the one striker, Van Nistelrooy. Then it was the winger in Cristiano Ronaldo. Then it's like, okay, this different kind of typical striker in Van Persie. He created a style that fit the players that he had. Pep is like, no, whoever I buy, you must fit my philosophy that I have. And Pep doesn't change his philosophy. So, and you could reach a point where players are like, oh man, damn, we've been doing this trading thing for the third, fourth year now. I mean, this is long, bro. I just don't feel as excited or energetic about it as I did in the first or the second year, which is, I think, the danger that could be happening is his very psychological, physically intensive tactics that require so much micromanagement may now be reaching its edge with the players. But we have only a very small sample size. Let's review this in 5 games, in 10 games, in 12 games. We're seeing a pattern. I'm saying small sample size for this season, but the fact is that when we look at last season, that is the most losses Pep has ever had in the league, ever. Which was, I think, was it 10 or 11?
You can't see my face right now, but the fact that you have double-digit losses in a season after you won the Premier League, and the fact that you lose to Lyon in the Champions League, for me, we have a whole season and a Champions League campaign, plus the start of this season. Those 3 things would add up to a pretty solid sample size. It's not just these 3 games. I think last season is pretty instructive here as well, no? 18 points shows something. This team isn't at the races like it was 3 years ago, but that makes sense, especially since we've been saying on this podcast for the past 5 years that a manager might have 2, 3, at best 4 years once he gets his team clicking together to ride through. And Pep had his 3-4 years. They didn't get the Champions League, but what they did in the Premier League was quite impressive. I'm expecting Klopp will hit that wall next season or the season after next. Or I think he's already said when my contract's over, I'm done, because I think he understands what's going on. Pep hasn't been this long at a club ever.
I think there's a difference with Klopp, because I feared that could happen with Klopp based off how he played with Dortmund and Liverpool. But then what you saw with Klopp last season was that he changed his approach drastically, where the team was a lot more pragmatic and less dynamic and attacking.
He's a coach,
and was the way.
Well, how would you put this? He's more in the Ferguson type, where he has principles, but I think he is willing to change them somewhat. Pep doesn't seem as willing to change. Like, he will change, don't get me wrong. I remember in the documentary on Amazon, he was like, well, in England, we have to learn to cope with second balls and things like that. So maybe he's more learning than he is adapting, if that makes sense. But yeah, I think Klopp is more adaptable to different situations, which, I mean, think about it. The reason that you bring up that money and why defenders might cost so much or why different players must cost so much is because there's a premium, not just the Premier League, not just Man City. It's the idea that Pep needs a type of defender that can do X, Y, Z. And that's not necessarily an easy player to find. A ball-playing center back who's also smart, who's going to be left in 1v1 situations a lot because the fullbacks have gone forward. Like, finding the correct player to fit in a very particular system is going to be expensive. Is Ruben Diaz a 65 million pound defender? I guess we'll see. But for Man City, he is, because that's the guy that Pep and the Man City team has picked to be like, well, I guess he's going to be our guy. I forget how much Laporte was. Maybe somebody could say, but definitely probably with 50, 60 million from Bilbao, I believe. To find a specialized person, you have to pay a lot of money. And there's a premium on that. If you're Ferguson and you can kind of make a meal with scraps, or just kind of put this here, put that there, put that in there, you can find players for not too much money, all told. Although that being said, I think they did have like the most expensive defender, like Ferdinand and things like that. Let's not pretend Ferguson was dealing with scraps either. But
no, he never had scraps.
Yeah, but
he did have Neville though.
Put it this way: if you're a Ranieri with Leicester, your idea can get accomplished with players that aren't 100 million pound players. You can get through with Robert Huth and Wes Morgan and Christian Fuchs and 500,000 Mahrez and non-league 1 million Jamie Vardy and 3 million Kante. Like, you put those players together and your idea doesn't require them to be technically proficient on some crazy level. They just have to be functional in the roles that they are. Pep is asking a lot of his players, both mentally and physically. So, and technically, to be fair. So yeah, I think that's part of his problem. And if you're not willing to change, if you're kind of stuck in that way, a 15-16 Mourinho season is coming for him. I don't know when. I don't know if it's this season. I don't know if it's next season.
Was that when Chelsea win the relegation zone?
Yeah, that's it. It has to be coming. I don't know when it is.
You think that's coming for Pep?
It's coming eventually. It comes for everybody.
Fuck.
Well, maybe not everybody in that way, but it's coming. I don't know when, but it'll come.
I really believe that. I said again, I've just been on him because of when he said, "I destroyed football," And look, as I told you, that's ever since he said, I'm like, bro, man, I'm going.
You were on his neck before that. That just solidified the reasons why you were on his neck.
Look, I did it in 90 minutes post match after Tottenham knocked them out. But saying that and losing to Lyon, 18 points behind Liverpool, I'm like, whoa. You destroyed football? Okay, let's now see what you're going to do. So it's going to be very interesting to see. Let's look at the next few games. Like, let's see this in the next 5-6 games. Because look, I am not one. Football can change in a week or two. And I think the issue we have with guys online is people are very reactionary and they're like, oh my gosh, this. I'm like, see 5 games. 7 games, 8 games, 9 games, 10 games, 11 games, because things can change very quickly. But as we said before, I've always said Pep is a really good coach. Great at this, and he used and copied a lot of ideas from Cruyff, who got them from Michel's in the 70s. So he's got some ideas. But as far as management, you have injuries, you need to do something new, and you need to really manage a squad and really work with what you have. I don't think he's very good at doing that. I think he needs players at their top level, at their very best, to implement his philosophy to a T. If they can't, and he now has to have and do management, he can be found wanting.